You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and the interview subject I have coming up for you is one Danko Jones. So the tables have turned. I'm interviewing an interviewer. I actually know Danko's podcast far better than I know his music. He's got an excellent podcast series. If you want to go out there and search for it, he's easily found. But the actual reason for the conversation is to promote Danko's upcoming tour of Australia with his band, eponymously titled Band. There's 4 dates in all. I'll read them out. Thursday the 30th of May, he's playing in Melbourne. Friday the 31st of May, he's playing in Brisbane. Saturday the 1st of June, playing in Sydney. And finally, Adelaide, you get a show on Sunday the 2nd of June. So let's have a listen to what Danko has to say. Here we go.
Hello?
Danko, it's Andy Mackay-Smith calling. How are you going?
Hey, how's it going? Good.
Yeah, good, mate, good. That's a very snazzy way of doing conference calling. I've got to hand it to whoever set that up, actually. I haven't quite done it that way before, but it's all handed to you on a platter.
Yeah, it's actually really easy once you get the hang of it.
Yeah, look, it's some of them you dial in and you actually drop right into the call as it's happening. So say in your instance here, you might be being interviewed by somebody else and you drop straight in the middle of it and you're like, I feel like I've gate crashed a party. But
yeah.
So you sort of just, when those ones too that ask you to please provide your name and details or what have you. So you hear that pre-recorded thing just boom over the top of them talking and you think, yeah. So nowadays, to be honest with you, mate, I just don't announce myself. I just sort of lurk in the background until they finish talking. But I didn't have to do that with you, so that was nice.
Cool.
So mate, you got this run of shows coming up in Australia, and I believe that they're your first headline shows in 15 years because you did some shows with Soundwave not too long ago. I don't think it was RIP Soundwave, but mate, what can I say? 9 albums, 3 EPs. You've got an expansive catalogue to mine cuts from. So what can your Australian audience expect?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's tough as, a band goes on and their discography gets longer and longer to, figure out a set list. JC, our bass player, he writes out the set lists. And it's a mishmash of, of course, the new songs off the new album we're touring on, and some of the songs that, maybe a lot of people have heard via, YouTube, or they just know. That were singles in the past, and then maybe a deeper cut for someone who's maybe seen us before, and then songs that we like as well to entertain ourselves.
Oh God, yeah. I play covers, and we generally do the 9-and-1 rule. So for every 9 songs that we play for the audience, we do one for ourselves. Otherwise,
that's actually that's kind of how we do it too. I think, sort of.
Yeah. Have you got? Is there a particular album or are there songs in the catalogue that are like the Australian audience is known for liking them, appreciating them more so than others?
No, I have no idea. I mean, like you said, it's been 15 years since we've headlined, to have done our own show. So back then, it was a totally different thing. We'd had 2 albums out, 2 full lengths. Now we have 9.
Yeah.
So I really don't know. And at Soundwave, our sets weren't very long. There's just so many bands on that stage. So we pretty much played maybe the songs that most people would know, and that was about it. Get off the stage as fast as possible.
Yep. Yeah, Soundwave was a lot like that, actually. It was a bit bewildering for the audience too, I think, at times. I think AJ strived and did his best to put on a wonderful show for people or an event for people. But, man, it's very hard when you've got Living Colour playing on one stage and another awesome band playing on another stage. You're thinking, shit, who the hell do I go and watch here? I think it's sort of...
I mean, it's a wonderful problem to have. That was so great about Soundwave. It was a great problem to have.
Indeed, yeah. But look, you got this new album coming out too, so A Rock Supreme, and I think I understand the title there because I reckon A Love Supreme is one of my favourite all-time albums by the great John Coltrane. It gets a regular spin in my household, that's for sure, but the album release is coming up very soon, the end of this month. Would you say the album continues the narrative, the Danko Jones narrative? Because I've had a listen to it, actually. John sent me a copy, and for me, it's got that great narrative that your music does have. And you've always reminded me of early Misfits. I don't know whether you get that comparison too often, but the album itself seems to be imbued with that same spirit.
Well, no, we don't get compared to them a lot, although we've written some songs in the past that are very influenced by them, like songs like Body Bags and Gonna Be a Fight Tonight, Going Out Tonight. Those songs were very Misfits influenced. But it's pretty much, ninth studio album. We're not trying to rewrite anything or trying to experiment with anything. We kind of know what kind of band we are, and we're sticking to the story. Kind of in the tradition of bands like Slayer and AC/DC and the Ramones and Motorhead. Those were four bands that, yes, the albums, the songs sound, they've got the particular sound. They sound the same if you're, coming from it from the outside. But that's what you want, and it's so hard to find a kind of a signature sound. So if you have it, why would you stray from it? Because it's just so hard to get in the first place. Plus, I think it's very arrogant when bands expect that their audience will follow them through every experimentation and love it, and dragging their audience through their experimental phase or this album or that album, when all they need to do is put out another album that that brought all their audience to them in the first place. And to think that everyone's going to love it no matter what they do is pretty arrogant to me.
Yeah. Look, these are my comments and my comments alone, but I've always felt that about Danko Jones from Silverchair. I think he's probably Australia's most gifted modern pop and rock frontman.
You really want to play. But for us and for me personally, I love hard rock. I love all kinds of musics, but I love hard rock, and I don't mind churning out another 20 hard rock albums. And yes, I listen to a lot of music. The three of us all do. And the way we kind of get all that crap out of our system is, like you mentioned, is to, kind of name our albums after other albums and other genres of music. That's how maybe we can kind of connect with those genres, but not necessarily musically.
Yeah, I get it. It's a great tribute, I think, to a wonderful album. And I think a lot of diehard music fans, and I think a lot of fans of yours are genuine music fans. They're not, they're not fans that go, I'm a metalhead or I'm a punk rocker or I'm this or that. They're just genuine music fans. So I think a lot of people are really going to appreciate that reference.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's good to know.
Mate, the other thing about talking to you is that it's unusual in that, a bit like when I was chatting to Chris Jericho, I've had to listen to just about all of your podcasts, I reckon. So the tables are turned. I'm interviewing a bloke who I'm used to listening to interview other people. So congratulations on a really solid podcast series, it must be said. It's been a worthy companion for me, as I've done a lot of travelling, and I've had it on in the background in hotel rooms, and just when I'm dealing with the kids in the car and trying to put them to sleep and driving them around, and I've got either yourself, Jamie, Chris Jericho, Eddie Trunk. You guys are the big 3 or 4 that I tend to listen to. And I think a lot of the people that listen to me listen to you guys as well. So there's a bit of serendipity there. But mate, out of all of the interview subjects that you've had the opportunity to chat to, who's been your favourite if you were pressed into providing an answer?
I would probably have to say 3 names come to mind. Duff McKagan, who's been on the podcast officially twice, but 3 different times. And Henry Rollins, because it was very difficult to interview him, and I wore him down. And I was so grateful that I wore him down. Eventually, he kind of opened up a bit. And Scott Thompson from the Kids in the Hall, we had a great time. We spent like 3 hours together with Scott, and so that was a memorable day. But even in between all that, there's been some great episodes that I'm just so happy happened.
Yeah, yeah. It's I know the Henry one you're talking about. He is like that, isn't he? He's we love him down here in Australia. Of course, he's spent so much time down here. He's almost an honorary Aussie. But I know I've met people that have interviewed him, and yeah, he can be. Well, actually, I'm at uni, and my lecturer was telling me that he didn't say he was difficult. The words I think he used, and I don't want to misquote here, but was a very challenging interview subject. He was one of those guys where you really had to sharpen the sword and be on your toes and be on your feet in order to get something that was some good copy. There you go, some good copy there. But
well, yeah, because I mean, I basically, first of all, no eye contact. He looked down to the floor for I'd say the first 15 minutes, and he would just give me really quick, curt answers. But I wore him down because I really genuinely wanted to talk about records and record collecting and how he finds some of the music he finds. And it was not until, and I understand where he's coming from. He gets it from all sides. And I think once he realized that, I don't know, I knew people he knew kind of thing, and I was safe, so to speak. So when I mentioned that, I played with Kira and Mike Watt at a show, and I was talking to Kira, then he kind of like loosened up a bit. And so it was really cool. I felt like, well, it wasn't a long interview, and it wasn't, like we weren't like guffawing and laughing and chortling together, but I did get him to the point where he was a bit talkative even after the interview. So that was actually pretty cool. What happened after the interview too. So it was not bad. And then actually I heard, 5 years later, someone told me in the Motorhead camp he ran into Henry Rollins, and he told him that he's going to be, this guy was going to be working with us because he came on the road with us.
Yep.
And when Henry found that out, he said, well, say hi to Danko for me. So everything's cool as far as I know between me and Henry. So.
Yeah, no, that's sweet. Yeah. I'll tell you, there is one fella out there that I reckon you would be a perfect interviewer for, and that's Thomas Gabriel Fisher from Celtic Frost. There's not a lot of copy out there from him, but I think your interview technique would get a lot of really good stuff out of him, because some of the interviews, of course, that I've seen from him too, they can go either way. But I think your style.
It can, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've had a good meeting with Tom. When I first met him, he was very, very cool with me. Like, we had a good meeting. But I met him through Martin Ain, and Martin was on the podcast.
Yes.
Who's now passed away, and Martin and I we became friends back in 2004, and Martin was the one who introduced Tom and I. So it was through Tom, and that was great. But he's one person that it depends on the day. You just have to strike on a good day.
Yeah, it's a lot like that, and I don't know whether he's aware of how revered he is as a heavy metal icon. He's almost invented extreme metal, not single-handedly, of course, but I mean, he's kind of like the guy that popularised it after Venom went away a little bit there in the 80s. And I was only listening to his stuff the other day in the car, on CD of all formats. In this day and age, I can't remember the latest compilation that was out, but man, someone's put a lot of thought and effort into this compilation that has what I'd consider the prime Celtic Frost cuts. But yeah, man, I don't think he's aware, or allows himself to be as aware as how revered the catalogue is and how revered he is as an icon of heavy metal.
Well, it's obvious because he just basically flushed Celtic Frost down the toilet. I mean, they're done. And it was, I think, premature, especially after they put out Monotheist, which was such a great comeback record, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But,
oh, well. Yeah. I suppose we never...
yeah.
What do we do, man? We know them as fans, right? But I guess the person is obviously a very separate entity. So, God, whatever... we can't, lest we judge, in these sort of situations here, except to say, Tom, if you ever listen to this, man, just please do something musical again in the vein of Celtic Frost. I know there's Apollyon Sun. Is that the name of his recent band, or has he got Triptychon? Triptychon, yeah.
Triptychon's put out a couple of albums, and they're very, very good. So it is actually, you can get your Celtic Frost fix from Triptychon for sure.
There you go. There you go. All right. Mate, your career. So we've talked about your career as a musician, now as a podcaster. I understand you're also a broadcaster, if Wikipedia is to be believed, mate. But you've had something approaching a lifelong career, certainly as an adult, in talking about music and heavy metal and punk rock and all the rest of it. So did you think you'd be here all these years later when you first started it, Andy? Or did you think you might get sucked into doing an ordinary job like so many of us do who love heavy metal?
Yeah, we when I look back on when we started the band, it was just another thing to do. You know, we're like in every scene. You know, bands form, they break up. The members kind of form new bands with other bands that have broken up in the scene, and then the whole thing starts anew, and it keeps going and going and going. Sometimes there's a band that kind of grabs onto something and gets a little bit of a buzz, but generally speaking, in every scene in every city, you know, just bands form, they break up, they form new bands, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we thought we were going to do when we first started, and maybe we go for a run for 3 years, but it actually quickly ramped up. We became like a buzz band in the city, and then the city, because it's Toronto, kind of broadcast fine, but we kept going, and 23 years later we've played 6 continents, over 40 countries, and that's just how it goes. So we had no idea how long this would last. I think we thought it was going to last for 3 years.
Yeah, it's a lot like that, but I mean that's to be frank, mate, you're just being realistic thinking that playing punk rock or heavy metal, it's bloody hard.
Had we known that it was going to last this long, it would have been, I don't know, we would have relaxed a little more.
Yeah.
You're flying by the seat of your pants. You just don't know. You want it to keep going, but you just don't know. And there's been so many times where, man, it's just easier if we just broke up and I'm just going to start a new band. But you kind of don't want to do that too, because you've done that a couple of times, and I don't know, it just gets monotonous. If we can do this, we've got a little bit of a spark. Let's try one more, kick at the can, and then, you keep saying that, and eventually that the 7th time you say it's the last kick at the can, something happens.
Yeah, there's always that way. Yeah, and then people accuse you of being an overnight success, but they don't understand you've been working at it for years and years and years.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
But yeah, I think a bit like Jamie and even Chris Jericho, you figured out that in order to have a career in music, you've actually got to have a career in about 3 or 4 other things at the same time, meaning broadcasting and podcasting, and I think it gives people a multi-dimensional view of you as a person and as a musician, so it makes you more endearing to an audience.
Well, the thing is, the difference between Jamie and Chris and myself is, I think Chris and Jamie do a real pro job at podcasting, and they really go for it. And of course, it's obvious because they've got lots of people in the numbers listening to their podcasts, and they're both really good podcasts. I actually did Jamie's podcast for a second time on Monday.
Sweet.
So I think I'll be on in maybe a week or two, but. They do real pro jobs at their podcast. Me, I like to keep it raw, and I don't promote it too much. And it's really for me to kill time on the road and for me to do something. It's genuinely a hobby. I don't try and lead with it anywhere. You brought it up, and I'll talk about it if you do. But I'm not going to try and promote it and promote it and promote it. And I don't have any sponsors. And if you don't know about it, I'm not going to tell you about it. If you find it and you like it, well, then you found it, and it was meant to be heard by you. If you don't hear about it, then chances are it's not for you. It's as simple as that. Yeah, it's a really good way of looking at it. That because it's just so competitive out there with podcasts, and I just want to be able to enjoy something without having the whole competitive nature of whatever it is that we do kind of creep in and turn it into a job for me. So I just want to keep it pure in that sense and raw. I do it myself. I edit it. I record it. The only thing I don't do is upload it onto all the various platforms. Our webmaster does that. So I send him the finished edited copy, and then that's it.
Indeed. Mate, I think that's the bell, isn't it? But look, it's been a pleasure. Look, it's been a pleasure having a chat to you, man. Good luck with everything, especially in the tour down under here, mate. You've got a lot of fans down here. I hope you're aware. So you'll have a great run of shows, man. And mate, in my role as a busy dad and all the rest of it, I'm going to do my best to come out and watch your show. But it's been a pleasure to chat to you anyway.
Oh, cool. Thanks a lot talking to you. And I have no idea about the buzz. I'm like Tom G. Warrior.
No worries, mate. Good on you. All right, all the best with everything.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that interview subject was one Danko Jones. Thank you so much for listening.